This is the Amp Hour Podcast, released October 28th, 2018. Episode 413, A House of FR4.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Contextual Electronics.
I'm almost a regular now.
I know, right? 2 in a row. 3 in a row. 3 in a row? Yeah,
Is it?
3 in a row.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
Welcome back,
Can't
Mr.
be.
Carter. What's up, buddy? How you been?
Doing all right.
Yeah?
Trying to, in the middle of negotiating a lab move.
Yeah, that's exciting.
No, that's a pain in the ass.
A bit pain in the ass.
Yep.
Yeah, so.
You'll notice that I said negotiating. I didn't say anything about doing any actual physical moving yet.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the downside that you have to deal with. You have to actually get it all figured out first before you. It's not like you're trying to do a little bit more custom than most people would do. Like for me, I just go sign up at a place and see what you get. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's because I've got to tell them that I've got a lab, because most people just want an office and that's it, right? They just have desks and computers
printer,
and all the usual office furniture, right? And then you've got to, explain to people because it's in the lease, you're not allowed to have chemicals. You're not allowed to have, anything like that.
Soldering,
it's like,
right?
well, I've got chemicals and I actually, I solder
not
things.
Like you're doing battery research or anything. Blowing up lithium ions,
exactly.
But still. Yeah.
Well, occasionally things have caught on fire in the lab.
Okay.
So.
Don't put that up front, man.
No, I'm not putting that up front.
Don't tell them that one.
And I'm sure they won't listen to the Amp Hour, so it's all good.
Excellent. Yes.
Yep.
Another. Sorry, all you real estate people out there.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you've got to make sure that's in so that your butt's covered.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's like one of those things where it's we like to talk about electronics and all that other stuff, but it's the everything else that kind of gets in the way, right? It's like doing email.
Tell me about it.
Like when you're doing a business, right? It's thinking about how much time I actually get to bill for versus how much time I actually spend at the office versus, like how much time I'm thinking about stuff too. It's a much less than I ever thought it would be.
Oh yeah, like maybe 70% of my time's just dealing with
it's
business
administrative
side
stuff,
of
right?
things, administrative stuff. Yeah.
Yep. That's not easy.
So I try and be productive.
Yeah.
If you haven't noticed, I am back to my regular scheduled videos now.
I've seen Mailbag
So
Mondays are actually on Mondays.
Mailbag Monday. Teardown Tuesdays are on Tuesdays.
Wow.
And,
what you get a boot in the ass? What happened here?
And maybe Fundamentals Fridays will come back to Friday.
I like those,
Yeah.
It's great, man.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll see.
Okay. Cool.
So
cool.
that's the plan anyway.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons for the lab reorg is because I want to be more productive.
Yeah.
Right. And you've been to both of my facilities
I have.
here.
Yep.
I have a separate editing where I record this now. Separate editing and office suite and packing and logistics suite. And it's a significant distance, right? It's a significant distance from the lab. I can walk between them, but so if I'm sitting here editing a video, did we talk about this the other week? Seems familiar.
I don't know.
Anyway, I'm going to repeat
Mike.
myself. Oh, right, could be.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, if I'm sitting here editing a video, I can't just wander back.
Yeah.
And go, there's one clip I want, and it's inconvenient to go go back there and shoot that one clip and then come back here. So
just being in a lab situation, I think is very different.
If you're sitting there and you've got all your stuff within reach, you can go, I can do a quick 10-minute video of this, thing or whatever.
My last job that I was just previously at, it was like I had to leave M Hub where I work out of, and it was moving away from the lab, and I was like, I don't really like this, being far away from the gear it's just like a familiarity type thing, and so if you have the access to it, you can walk over. I remember one of my desks in my past jobs, I had my lab bench directly next to my desk, and I think that goes in the other directions actually. Sometimes because the computer's a little bit more distracting to the lab work.
Right.
Sometimes having
of course.
isolated lab work can be really good.
Oh, just check the forum again. See if there's
exactly right. Did they respond yet? Right. I had a very important
yeah.
point that I was making.
Right. Yeah. Somebody was wrong on the internet.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to have a little bit of separation, but I mean these days, I mean hell, like some of my test gear is on my laptop. You know what I mean? Like some of my stuff is tied to this thing, so it's it's more about managing notifications and trying not to get distracted when you're deep in a project and troubleshooting. But that can happen. We got phones in our pockets too, right? It's just as easily could be there.
Yeah, no, exactly. It makes no difference.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, it's good. You're doing a little feng shui, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I just thought of a project.
What's that?
A cell phone. God, bloody Americanized. Mobile phone jammer. That you can have in your lab that, like so it takes the outside distractions away.
How do you do with those things? You can get like those plugins for your computer that like turn off all the distracting sites that are out there. You know about those?
Really? What is it? Like a USB stick or something? You plug it in?
Well, no, it's just usually like a Chrome plugin. So it's like you go type in Facebook.com or something, and it's like, well,
and it tells you to bugger off.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. It says, oh, you didn't want to go for you're supposed to be concentrating the next 20 minutes. But the problem is, I always have the passwords for everything, so it's almost like you need to pay someone
override
to come in and do it for you if you really have struggles with it. These days, Facebook, I'm like, okay, but still, yeah. So what you need is your neighbor to jam your phone for you, to jam the signals and deal with the FCC or whatever you guys have there. What is it called there?
Oh God, what is it? Yeah, it'll come to me.
Okay.
Yes, we do
like
have the
FCC.
FCC equivalent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Australian Communications Management Authority. Is it AMCA or something? ACMA or something.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you have to do the same testing if you go through like certs and stuff like that?
Not here.
Like I'm sure that like some of it's by pass-through, so if you get FCC...
Yes, we have the CTIC. We have the CTIC requirement, which is equivalent to the FCC...
Part 15, whatever.
Emissions thing,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, which means nothing here. Like if you get your product FCC certified here, that means absolutely nothing. Right? It's only if you want to sell it in the US that it needs to be FCC certified. Yeah, so we have a CTIC. Oh well, it's changed its name from CTIC to bloody the compliance mark or something.
Okay.
I've done a video on this and I forget.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it is. I mean I'm always surprised by that too, because when you think about like selling across the world, like some products have the the mark for every country. They really got.
Oh yeah. That's
That's crazy. That is a full-time gig for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. You'd think they'd start to standardize across, but I mean the thing is like you have different frequency standards than we have here, so it's from a certain perspective it makes sense that there wouldn't be the same standards body. You'd think there'd be like a general thing though, Yeah,
unfortunately, like as I've mentioned, I did compliance video as I said, and in there it's basically just like go to your test house and they will know which requirements are for which countries and which ones you need, which ones you shouldn't bother with, for your class of item and stuff like that. They'll, and then you just go right, hand over your money, test them for all applicable.
That's the important step for sure.
Yeah. And it's not just a matter, it's got to make sure it passes, because these test houses won't bodge anything. They, it's not in their best interest to,
No. Yeah, they fail you and bring you back the next time. Another 10 grand, please.
And another 10 grand. Thank you very much. It's in their best interest to fail you.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. They know how to get it done. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they will do their best.
Yep.
Oh boy.
I'll have to look at that. I don't remember that video, so I'll have to look at that.
Oh, okay. I've done two. I've done one on all the markings on product. I've done two about the markings on products and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They've been very popular. So.
Cool.
What else has been happening in the world in our week that we've...
Well, you recorded last week with Mike.
I recorded last week and we were yapping on it, but we were yapping on about Mike and Dave stuff.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
Yep.
you know.
Oh, actually, I
That was
heard
good
that
to hear.
you
I forgot
listened to
you
it.
and Mike hadn't
Yeah.
talked in so long. That was what was surprising to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Whereas you guys have met up a couple of times.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've only talked to him once when we had him. I think once when
One
we had
time?
him on the show.
Wow.
Maybe two. I don't know. Did we have him on a second time on the show? But he's been on the show
don't
like
know.
4 times, but at least 2 of them were with you. So.
Yeah.
Because you're at some conference or something.
Oh,
so,
yeah. One was in Belgrade and one was in London, I think. Or something like that. But yeah. Yep.
Dude, why is this on the list? Why is this on the Amp Hour list? I see it was edited. I see it was added by you.
What's that?
The X Prize.
The Water Abundance X Prize? That was interesting.
$1.5 million.
What
it's
about
not
it?
interesting. It's bullshit.
What? Oh, I didn't know. Is it bullshit? Really?
I've done a video debunking this stuff, as has Thunderfoot's done like 10 videos, and he actually just released a video
I don't
last
watch
night.
Thunderfoot. Sorry, buddy.
Doing this.
But,
okay. Well.
Okay. Well, I thought it was an interesting concept, but apparently
debunking. No, it's bullshit. Right? So, it's impractical.
I don't doubt that, but so what?
Like, it works, in quote marks, just like U-beam works, just like Energis works, just like, everything else works.
You thought I was like trolling you here? And I'm like, oh, Dave,
I just didn't. Yeah, I assumed that you just weren't aware that was the case.
Yeah.
That you hadn't really thought about it. Because the problem with extracting water from the air is that it takes a metric butt ton of energy. That's a SI unit.
Right.
And it's a phenomenal amount of energy. It just doesn't make it economical or practical. And that only works in ideal conditions, like really high humid environments. And the problem with high humid environments is that, well, what do you get in high humid environments? A lot of rain, which is where you don't need a dehumidifier, and then you can't drink the water from it. So it's got to be filtered. So you've got to put
TechCrunch
more
got me
energy
again,
into,
apparently. Yeah.
They're just like...
I read like the top level, like, oh, this looks interesting, but...
Yeah, of course. And that's why it made... yes, if you don't know, I did a couple of videos on this, which was the Water Seer. And then Popular Science magazine, right? Which is, I guess, it's not a journal, right? But at least, it's like got some modicum of responsibility, right? Because it's a science magazine, right? I won't say journal. And they published an article on the Water Seer, which is something that I and Thunderfoot had debunked, right? Which is like a thing that you bury underground, and then it has a turbine on top and extracts water from the air. It does exactly this, right? And the only problem is it doesn't work. Due to like the law of thermodynamics, and basic soil chemistry and physics and, all that sort of jazz. And anyway, they published this article in their magazine, basically just what all these media organizations do is just resprout the marketing copy from these companies, right? And they didn't put any critical analysis into it. And this is a science magazine, so I took them to task. I did a video, and I didn't expect any response. But sure enough, a week later or whatever, they actually published a retraction in print of their article and said, "Hey, sorry, we didn't do our research." So I was quite proud of that. They actually
did they reference yours?
They mentioned in a generic way. Yes, I think. But I did a video and sent it to them specifically calling them out. So and I was the only one who did that. So I assume it must be me. Anyway, they took another look at it and they went, "Yep, we agree. It's it's bullshit." They didn't use the word bullshit, but yep. And they went, "Sorry, we retract our article. We should have put more research into it." And it's the same thing here.
Well, so the thing I'm surprised by about that, I thought the X Prize, I thought they would have done so they won $1.5 million for this thing.
Yep.
But
things like the Fontus, right? Which is you're aware of the Fontus, right?
Man,
They went bankrupt.
Time to look at all this stuff.
It's my job.
I guess so. Yeah.
Right. Anyway, I did a Fontus once again.
Oh my God!
Busted.
I could see it here. It's the water bottle that fills itself up and it never goes dry.
Self-filling water bottle, yeah. And there's countless ones of these. And anyway, myself and Thunderfoot and others, quite a few others, debunked the Fontus. And of course, they went bankrupt, as expected.
Yeah.
But once again, they won a James Dyson Award for this bullshit, right?
Jeez, man.
It's like, Pete, that's the problem,
you spend your
right?
time, Dave, you could just make up. It sounds like at this point you could just make up prize names for things that could win millions of dollars at a time.
Right, I know. It's just ridiculous because they don't put any critical analysis into it. And they don't care whether it's practical. They just get with
They just need to show something. That's the idea. Like that's.
Well, no, but everyone wants to help people, right? So,
Right.
we want to help the thirsty people in Africa, and in the desert region. So let's extract water from the air. That'll work, And then all it needs is money and research. And no, you can't beat. You cannot beat the laws of physics, Captain.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about. I was listening to Bill Gates. I was listening to Bill Gates talk about the Gates Foundation, obviously, and
Yep.
I always expect it to be like, oh, well, we threw science at this thing, and we're chasing down the DNA sequencing of A, B, and C, and doing all this other stuff. And at the end of the day, it's like they and many other organizations have taken critical looks at like what needs to happen, and they're like, oh, well, what we do is we weigh children, and if they're underweight, then we give them protein.
Yeah.
It's like
I know.
it's like
It's
logistical
pretty
stuff,
basic stuff.
that is like, but it's just on the scale of things that are, and like governments are doing this too, of course, right? There's tons of people that are doing this kind of thing, but like the solutions are not tech focused at all.
They are not high. They are not
don't
high
need
tech,
it, right? I mean, like the things, and I think I mentioned that here before.
Housing, education,
right,
power.
Right. Yeah. And how do you get water? Not from the air.
They need clean food.
You
and
clean
water,
up the source and you go dig a deeper well or whatever. Yeah. Right. And it's very frustrating.
Well, the solution to the water is not hard. You pump it in from regions that have water.
Right.
Pumps and pipes are relatively cheap compared to everything else.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
So it's just you've got to put the money. If you're going to put the money in, put it into that sort of infrastructure.
Right. Yep. Yep.
So.
Yeah, it was just a recent update on. He was on Ezra Klein's podcast doing. I think he does like a tour pretty much now whenever they put out a report, but it's always just
it
the
comes
scale
down to
of
basics
issues
for
that
us.
they talk about. It's just
That's why I'm sure we talked about this way back at the start of the amp hour. Was the one laptop per child?
Yeah.
It's like they don't need a laptop. They need freaking clean drinking water and food that's abundant, nutritious food. That's what they need.
Right. And I didn't even think about that stuff. Like the one they were talking about was like if you're malnourished, then your brain development is down too, and it's just like, of course, right. I mean, like, but it's just like it's these systemic issues that are like that's the it's fixing a lot of those things before you need to move up the hierarchy and get to the point where you need a laptop.
Well, is that a problem with us engineers? We see it as a technical solution rather than a simple logistic solution.
Yep,
we overthink it.
I think that's totally it. Yeah, I mean, like I want to throw electronics at every problem I see, but that is
Right.
rarely the issue, rarely the right thing. And if I look at the consulting gigs that I have and have bid on, and everything is it's the top of the hierarchy, right? It's the top of Maslow's hierarchy. It's like fixing things that are interesting and things that I like working on, of course, but it's not like it's not going to, you're not building someone's house out of FR4, right?
This is how we ended up with the Internet of Shit.
Right.
Is that like, we solve a problem, I need to turn my lights off.
Right.
Well, you don't put electronics into it, you put a switch in a more convenient location. I mean,
right.
right.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man. I'm actually, I'm in that world now. I do IoT stuff, Dave.
I'm grown.
Not really.
Grown. Well, you're just a gun for hire. You do what people pay you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. But like, that's where
Is there anything you won't work on? Is there anything you would like, even if it's technically interesting, would you refuse to work on it?
Yes, there was a drug-based project that I was not interested in recently.
Okay, without giving away details, are you able to say what sort of thing was, what sort of drug?
No, it was just a recreational drug thing. That's all I can say.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm just not interested in enhancing that industry.
In helping out that.
Yeah.
But you're not necessarily against it, but you don't want to help
exactly.
it out.
Exactly right. And I don't want to spend my time thinking about that stuff every day.
Yep.
Right. There's other problems to be solved.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not saying everything I work on is like 100% like, saving the world type of thing. Some of it's just interesting technically, and some of it's dealing with that.
Uh-huh.
But yeah. You're not going to build a house out of FR4. You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
There's an idea.
No, don't do it. Maybe like a gingerbread house, like a small one.
Right. Yeah.
I will say, and I will put this out there again, I did end up starting that consulting forum that I mentioned.
Excellent.
Yeah, and it's been going great. There's about like 40, 50 people on there.
Wow,
so if people are interested, it's specific to people who are doing consulting part-time or full-time. So,
yep.
But there's a forum, and I will and I will list that forum again. And if people are interested in participating, it's been good way to kind of get some questions answered. So, if you're in that world, let me know.
So how does it work? Does somebody post something on the forum and say, "Hey, I've got this client who needs this mechanical engineering job. I know jack all about this. Who wants to do it?" Is that
a little more high level than that? It'd be more like, I'm in a spot where I don't know. So like I've done that kind of thing where I'm like, I don't know how to find a mechanical engineer, right? So I'm not looking to find a mechanical engineer necessarily on here. It's more like, how do I? So like here's an example. I posted about dealing with vacation as a consultant, right? Like, how do I do that? I don't.
Oh yeah, of course.
I've never done that before, right? And so it was kind of just asking for advice from other people. Do you completely go dark? Do you ask around? Do you tell obviously you tell your clients, but do you answer the phone? And what's an emergency? What isn't an emergency? That kind of thing. And and had some really good responses and that kind of thing. So like. That's like a very high level thing, but there's also more specific stuff as well.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's been great. There's a nice group on there, and they're all Amp Hour listeners. I'm sure some of them are listening right now.
Right.
Hello,
Excellent.
everybody. Thank you for joining.
Is it like an email based list, or is it a forum that you have to go to?
It's a discourse forum, so it'll send you. That's like the.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I haven't used Discourse.
It's okay. It's like what I use for the KiteGet forum as well.
Yeah, I know.
Yep. So it basically sends a summary, or like it's like mailing list mode if you want to, so you can even respond.
Oh, okay. You have optional mailing list mode.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
Mailing lists are kind of weird. I don't know. I'm still on some mailing lists.
Yeah, but if it's a forum that you don't visit every day, it's and it's low enough volume.
Yeah, that's true.
Then it's probably not a bad way to go.
I'm just really surprised people still go to sites every day. Like I know that you do that for the forum for the EV blog forum, and that makes sense because
my forum.
There's so many. Well, I mean, even other people are there every day because there's just so much traffic. But there's very few sites that I go to every single day. You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe Reddit. Twitter.
Okay.
That kind of thing. Well, TweetDeck or whatever. But yeah, I mean, that's just how a lot of the web has changed. I think too. I used to go to blogs. You know what I mean? Like there were blogs that I would check.
Yeah, of course.
I would check certain blogs every single day. Or like Hackaday. Like I still see a lot of Hackaday articles, of course, and I get email newsletters, but I don't go to Hackaday every day. But a lot of people still do. So, yeah.
Everyone likes their information fed in different ways.
They do. Yep.
So there's no one thing to rule them all.
Yep, I agree. Speaking of going to Hackaday, I will be at the Super Conference not this weekend, but next weekend. That's crazy. I guess by this weekend it'll already have been posted by then.
Why is it crazy?
It's almost November, Dave. Like where
the
hell did that go?
Granted.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, which means it's almost 2019. You know what I mean? Like it's just
I didn't know that Hackaday Super Conference was November. I didn't know that November was Hackaday.
Well, next weekend is November, Dave. So keep an eye out. It's coming for you. And November around there, it's nice. I'm sure. Around November around here, it's not as nice.
Yep.
So,
got it.
Yeah. So I got to write my talk and stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
Other things happening on our list. Boldport is changing. Why are Boldport changing?
So
what are they changing to?
So it's switching away from a monthly subscription, like you sign up and you get a thing in the mail every month. Now it's more like less frequent, but basically you pay for each one and that kind of thing. So,
okay, right.
So and I think it's just like more in-depth projects, right?
I don't. That's bound to. I don't like to put a jinx on them, but I think that model's bound to fail. People like signing up once and then they forget about it. And it just happens. So if you sign up, or well, no, but they if it's a monthly recurring thing or whatever, and they're charged each month, and they're sent a kit, people like autopilot, right? Whereas if people have to if they get an email each month and say, hey, this kit's available, please buy it each time, that's going to be I don't like to say destined not to work, but I think it's different.
I think that's what it really comes down to.
It's different,
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
anyway, I haven't read the reasoning why they're changing. So
basically, there are going to be more in-depth projects though too, and I think that's the idea.
Oh, okay,
and so if people don't know, when you join Bowlpower Club, you actually get access to the community as well, which is great.
Right. Cool.
And so they switched over to Discourse instead of Slack, and so now they're at a Discourse forum, and so Discord chat channel, and that's what Adafruit uses as well. And basically, it's like a nice chat room for getting projects done and that kind of thing, and working together on projects like this. So, I think it's going to be great. I mean, I think that the existing projects are limited in terms of, it was because it was a fixed price. There was fixed amount how much you could do in terms of in terms of what SAR could actually put on board. So it was pretty much a fixed BOM cost. And so you think about it from that perspective, it actually, you have less that you can do on a board.
Yeah, of course, you're restricted,
Yeah. And so some of them were blinky projects and some of them were more intricate, but, then they had to be more creative. But, working within a cost constraint can be interesting, but eventually, I think that the cost will go up and down with the actual material cost now, which is kind of cool. And, yeah, I think it actually might be a little harder for SAR, but I've seen his designs, and you've seen his designs, and those are there's some killer designs. So if people haven't checked it out ever, I think it's a great way to get started soldering. I think it's a great way to get other people interested in soldering. And
actually, that would have been cool for Sagan.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I saw that. I saw Sagan started soldering.
Yes,
huh?
yes, he did his first thing, and everyone was impressed.
Yeah. So what does one do when starting to teach a 6-year-old? How old is Sagan now? 6?
7.
7. Oh, geez.
I didn't teach it. Well, I just taught him the safety things, but it may, like 1 minute. And a demo of how to do it.
This is the not hot end.
Because I wanted him to sort of learn to, rather than do a half-hour instructional thing with, I wanted him to just do it, right?
Sure.
And he'll learn from, learn as we go. So it was literally safety instruction, and then a minute, here is, you hold it, flat. I explained, the tip had to be flat and on there so it makes contact, and then you just feed the solder in, and then I just said go for it.
Yeah.
And the video you see is him literally doing it for the first time.
Oh wow.
And
that's great.
Yeah. So I was very impressed.
It's a natural, man.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Dave. He's got the knack.
He's got the knack. Yep.
Yeah.
Afraid so.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Anyway.
Oh man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, where people think I might, extensively teach him and stuff. No, as we build more stuff together.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, I'll start refining his process and stuff like that. But I didn't want to bombard him with everything right up front. I think that's wrong. It's just here, heat up joint, try and apply solder and see what happens.
I think a lot of the time too, when people are getting started, they try and do everything at once. So they try and hold the component and hold the PCB and hold the soldering and hold the solder. It's well, you need to make sure that you're all set to go and you understand heat transfer and much as hold it here for a little bit longer and it's a lot easier. Don't so Sagan's in a good place because you have a good soldering iron, whereas most people when they start it's Radio Shack Firebrand, that kind of thing is not as good.
But for the stuff we were doing it makes no difference really. A lot of people say he's so good because of the good iron. It's come on.
No. Right? I'm just saying that not that it's such a good iron. I'm saying that it's not a terrible iron. You know what I mean?
It's not a terrible iron.
So when you go to an event and they're doing soldering in a tent and people have been abusing an iron all day long, and it barely melts solder anymore. It's like, okay, that's a little bit different.
Yeah, but anything temperature control is going to work. It's
I know. That's what I'm saying. That most people when they start aren't using temperature control. That's what I'm saying.
Well, there's your problem.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Like even I started on a temperature control sign. It was one of those, 240 volt, mains straight into the thing with a little pot on it that you had to adjust with a screwdriver, right?
You fancy, Mr. Fancy here. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was my first.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how regulated the temperature was. Didn't have any ability to measure it, but
But still, right? I mean, if it's at a if it's at a 3 and it doesn't work, you turn it up to 4.
yeah, exactly. That's right.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's a lot better. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I compensated for that by using lead-free solder. So a lot of people said, sacrilege.
Well,
should be lead.
You work up to that,
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you about a tweet you had earlier in the week.
Oh.
Is
it a controversial tweet?
No, not this time.
No. Okay.
The first printed IC magazine project. Where did you find this?
As where all great things are found, the EEV blog forum.
I figured that. I mean, who found it then? Maybe it's better. Maybe I should start asking that instead. What's the deal here, Dave?
Sorry, I can't recall exactly who posted it to the EV blog forum. Anyway, it's an article in Electronics Australia magazine from 74, is it?
Yeah.
1974.
Oh, here, I'll send you the link.
Anyway, yes, it's an article published in Electronics Australia magazine. Someone scanned it in.
Yep.
And, there we go. You've linked me to it. Thank you. Let's have a look. So I know what I'm talking about. Yes. And it's from good old Dick Smith. Tricky Dick Smith, right? It's actually an ad. It's actually a full-page advert, sort of kind of disguised as an article kind of thing. And it's like, stupendous IC breakthrough, print your own integrated circuit. And it was like, hey, you got to remember, this is right. Yeah. Oh yes, printegrated, and it's called the prick. The PRIC.
Yes.
Right. It's called the prick, as in Dick Smith and prick. Get it?
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
Classic.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, it's great, and you got to remember, this is back in the age when the way you made PCBs was A, you made them yourself because that was the only way to make them.
Sure.
And B, they printed 1-to-1 scale artwork in the magazine.
Oh, for actually making a circuit board, you're saying?
Yeah, for actually imaging the circuit board. So they would print 1-to-1 size the PCB in the magazine, and then you would you would do your photo transfer process from the magazine, right? That's how you made boards. So they've done the same thing here with an integrated circuit, and you're supposed to cut this thing out from the magazine and then put it through some chemicals, and then
what is this, like an April Fool's thing? What the hell's going on here?
Of course, it's April Fool's. It's from April 19. It's from the April 1974 edition.
Oh my god!
Yeah, Dick Smith was a practical joker. Yeah. He's famous for it, this was disguised as an article.
That's
and a lot of people actually cut this thing out and tried to cite and it's got instructions. You cut it out, you put it through these solutions of various chemicals to treat it, and then you try and attach wires to your. Of course, they say you can't solder the wires to the paper, so you've got to actually hold it down with tape. You've got to. So
good Lord,
it's great. It's great. Great prank.
I guess so.
One of the ones that sticks in my memory from the age. Yes.
Yeah.
One of the ones I that rings a bell is they had this construction article. Once again, it was in the April edition of Electronics Australia. I think it was. May have been Electronics Today International. Not sure. Anyway, a project article, how to build the world's best speaker cable. And what they were is mercury-filled speaker cables. So you would actually get a garden hose. So they give you instructions, go buy this diameter garden hose from the local hardware store with these fit-ins and everything. Stand on top of your house so that, the garden hose is downwards, and fill it up with liquid mercury, and then put the end caps on, and it sounds phenomenal. The fluid, the liquid mercury is just, it just sounds brilliant, So, yeah, mercury-filled speaker cables.
Wow. Okay.
Anyway, that was obviously taking the piss out of the, the audiophile industry,
Right.
which was still around, which was around back then.
Right, of course it was.
This was probably from the 80s, this one.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Well,
that's hilarious.
A little early for the April Fool's jokes, Dave.
It's great. It's great. I couldn't resist sharing that.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
That's good.
The prick.
Oh boy.
That could be can that be the title of today's episode?
Actually, no.
Dave's prick.
Dave, no.
No?
No, definitely not.
Okay. Oh, such a wuss.
Yep.
All right. Next.
Yeah.
The fall of PIC microcontrollers.
So this was a discussion. Someone actually emailed me about this, and I asked them to post it on the forum.
Right, and they did mention, it's on the Amp Hour Reddit.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. That's right.
Yep.
I don't have any experience with PIC really, so I thought that would be a good one for you.
Can we read their posts
Sure.
so we put it in context? I am a new Reddit user but an avid listener. Thank you. I was wondering where would there be a podcast discussing PIC microcontrollers? Well, we're about to do it now for you. I have used a few 12F and 16F for some personal projects. I would like to know when they stop becoming so popular.
Stopped becoming.
Their advantages and disadvantages, and if they could ever regain the hobbyist audience. As an EE college student, when I ask my peers if they have used PIC microchip microcontrollers, not a single person knows what I'm talking about, but almost every single person has worked with Arduino, which is, of course, the Atmel processor. Only my professors seem to have knowledge regarding them. Excellent discussion.
Sure.
Point.
Yeah.
Shall we?
You start, buddy, because
you can sense that I'm about to jump into.
Yeah.
Let me grab a drink first. Okay. First of all, I would willing to bet that probably 80 to 90% plus of those people who use the Arduinos have no idea it even has an Atmel microcontroller.
Right. And we
for
starters, I was going to say we should disambiguate as well, because it's not an Arduino microcontroller. The Arduino is the standard and the IDE on top of it.
Yes, it is. But
it's
become so generic that it doesn't,
But I'm just saying that there was even a PIC32 had a Arduino compatible thing for a while, right? So
yes, I've got one. Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying it's important to disambiguate as well.
Yes, it is. Yeah. That's a very important point to make. But when people talk about Arduino, they generally talk about the Atmel implementation. Not that it matters, because it doesn't matter. Because as I said, most of those students would not know that it contains an Atmel.
Yeah, that's right.
Or it could even be an ARM. You can get an ARM based Arduino.
You can use
an
Espressif. Right? I mean, like there's translators from many different.
I've used those. Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Right. So the problem with the Arduino is that it's higher level and it abstracts out the microcontroller. That's the problem.
That's the point here. Yeah, I think that's right. Yep.
Yeah. It totally abstracts it out. Now, when you're talking about microcontrollers, has it lost... Well, let's go back. Way back.
Yes,
I
back
think
in
we're
the day.
talking 92-ish, right? I think we're talking 92. Please correct me if I'm wrong. My memory's always a bit rusty. And basically, PIC made microcontrollers what we know today.
You say
because
92?
Before that, about 92 maybe.
On the PIC wiki page, I will say this. The first parts of the family were available in 1976.
Yes, I know, but I'm getting to this point.
I'm
getting to this point. Yes, correct. They were General Instruments back then.
Right, okay.
They were
that sounds familiar, like we've talked about it on here before. Okay.
Yeah, we have talked about it before. Now, the thing is the popularity for the current microcontroller hobbyist craze, where hobbyists could really start effectively using microcontrollers. Before about 92, I'm going to say, it was super expensive to do, right? You paid your $1,000+ for your development kit or whatever, right? It was not low cost, right? It was really expensive to get into microcontrollers. Microcontrollers were around for sure. They've been around for a long time, but very expensive to do. And they weren't reprogrammable.
Right.
Yep. They were one-time programmable, or you bought the expensive EEPROM part where you had to UV erase it, right? So you'd use the EEPROM one for development, and then for your project you'd use a one-time programmable. But Microchip PIC came out with the 16C84 at the time, which was the E2 PROM. It had E2 PROM in it. You could reprogram it electrically.
Yeah.
Right, this was a phenomenal breakthrough, and you could use a low-cost program like a programmer that just hooked up to the serial port. Right, this was like phenomenal breakthrough, and this is what enabled low-cost microcontroller access for the hobbyists. And then they came out with the 16F84, which was the Flash version, but it did the same thing, but it used Flash instead of E2 PROM. Anyway, that's where it all started. So that's why Microchip became sort of like the de facto industry standard for in the hobbyist world, because they were the first to introduce reprogrammable microcontrollers with a cheap hobbyist programming interface.
Yeah.
And that's why they got so popular. So that's the history of that. And then of course everyone else jumped on the bandwagon. You could get your TI, and then Zilog came along with their ones. They were a bit popular for the time. They're basically dead in the water now. No one uses those. And then there were, maybe your MSPs, came along, and, your TI parts and other ones came along, and then Atmel came out and they had a similar system. And, but PIC was pretty much the go-to thing if you wanted to do micros before Arduino came along and abstracted all that out.
Right. And basically, so PICs are all C-based, right? that's the...
And PICs are just raw microcontrollers. Yeah. You can program in assembler or C.
Yeah. And,
or any other.
Right, and I think that's another distinction here, is that when people are doing Arduino, they're not only moving up like a hardware abstraction layer, they're also usually using a higher level language, which is like a different, slightly different version of C++, right? That is... Well,
no, it's still C. It's still C. It's just everything's abstracted out for you. So rather than use the direct instruction to write to the I/O port, you call up an already written routine, which is just a C routine, which writes to the port for you.
Right.
So it's higher level abstracted. Not only higher level abstraction in terms of knowing what the processor is, but higher level abstraction in terms of writing to I/O.
Sure.
And stuff like that. That's why the Arduino system, you can put any processor in there. It doesn't matter what the processor is. And your Arduino program still works. It'll still work every time because you use the digital I/O write routine to write to I/O. So it doesn't matter whether it's an Atmel, a PIC, an ARM, or a MSP430 or Expressive or whatever it is. Right. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
Your Arduino program still works. So that's the thing. And it's still C. Like Arduino is, if you look at the code, and if you can actually go see the code of the routines you're calling, it's all still C. It's just compiled with the C.
And there is some C++.
It may have subsets of C++.
I know there.
Anyway. Well, that's fine, right? I know.
It's the same. At a certain point, who cares, right?
Right. Right. Exactly.
Right.
And that's the thing. It doesn't it just doesn't matter that you're programming in that interface. It's just
I think the thing. So the questioner Plaid X was asking, why have they stopped becoming so popular? Their advantage and disadvantage. Could they ever regain the hobbyist audience? Maybe.
Well, there's so many. There are so many out there.
Yeah.
Like PICs had their time. They are still popular, right? PIC is still sold in their billions.
Yeah. Right.
They're just like, but when you look at the hobbyist level, what projects people are making on the EEV blog forum are making on this other blog or on this YouTube channel or this Adafruit thing or this, insert other, platform here, what are people using? Well, they're using Arduinos, they're using, expressive ARM chip modular things, they're using...
Yeah, some people are moving up the stack, they're going up the Raspberry Pi, they use BeagleBone, stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. It's a fragmentation thing. Obviously, the industry is getting bigger as well. So I think the sub-question here is, will PIC ever become dominant again? I don't think so.
Well, no, I think just like no other individual micro will become dominant.
Right. Maybe families of micros, you could start saying, if you say like Cortex M30 and M3 and M4,
something like that.
Those maybe are. But at the end of the day, most of the people that this person is talking about, the college students that are using Arduino, they're using it because it's the same to them, right? Some are...
It's less effort.
Right.
That's why they're using
less
it. Because there's
knowledge of each thing, right?
Is a slightly more effort required to do any individual micro. It doesn't matter whether it's ARM, Atmel, PIC, MSP 430, 8051, doesn't matter.
Right.
They all have a base level of complicatedness that you have to jump over before your lead flashes. Right? So,
that's right.
And that's why people use these other platforms, and the fact that you can buy an Arduino for a couple of bucks on eBay delivered.
$2. Yep.
$2 on eBay delivered.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, and it's got that high level abstraction. It's a no-brainer. It's the same cost as a single PIC from Mouser or DigiKey.
Right. And Dave and I have long since been like, great, bring it on, more people, right? People can go back and listen to us saying, right? But at the same time, more people are coming in, and I think that again, what this person's asking is, when are my fellow students going to get down into the lower level registers?
That's the question,
right?
Yes,
and the answer is, I think, when they have to, right? And that
when they have to, which is the answer is when you're talking about studying, the answer is people may never get back there.
Right. They're going to go off and do software stuff, and the micro they have that has an Arduino IDE works great for what they're doing, right? They're turning some blinds on. It works great. They bodge it together. Awesome. That's what they needed it for. Now, if they're going to go make a product that's going to be battery powered and needs to sleep and have sleep currents and the nanoamps and do X, Y, and Z and process algorithms and do all this other stuff, well, they're going to learn. They're going to get down into C, or they're going to move up the level, and
you have to. You're forced to.
Yeah, right. So that's we're going to restate your question. It's not. It's when are people going to do low level hardware design? When they have to or when they want to. And it sounds like you want to, and that's cool, actually.
Or are they going to... I think he's talking about more from a university educational point of view too. And I think the horse is bolted there.
I've never heard that. That's a new one, Dave. 8 years in, I've never heard that one.
Really?
Horse is bolted. Yeah. Like the jig is up? Is that what is?
Yeah, you're right.
The horse something has bolted.
Yeah. No, it's more. The jig is up isn't really the same metaphor.
So what does the horse has bolted mean? Like it's
the horse is bolted. Like the horse has left the gate. You can't catch the horse again. There's no way you're going to get the horse back in the barrier.
Cat's out of the bag. You're saying,
right?
Yeah.
The cat's out of the bag. Right. So.
Yeah, I agree.
Don't know. I
agree.
Didn't think that was an Australian expression.
It's probably not. I probably just don't know it.
Right.
And I think that's the main thing. It's like don't worry about it. I think that I've been dealing with this personally. Actually, is like I'm trying to figure out what my platforms are going to be, because I've got 30 dev boards on my desk, and
that's insane.
And it's irresponsible actually as a consultant to be like, well, any of these will work. And it's no. You come to me, I give you a solution based on I have one solution for Wi-Fi, one solution for Bluetooth, one solution for low power, one solution for flexible, and maybe that's still too many.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the idea, is that so you can turn around and quickly do stuff.
That's what Mike and I talked about last week, and we talked about on previous episodes, is that the reason he uses PIC is because he's always used PIC, and that's what he's so familiar with it.
Right.
That he just, and he's already got code written, and he does the same projects over and over. There are all these lead-based things. He's already got the whole infrastructure in place, and that's why he can turn out projects so quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, turn them around.
Right, and honestly, I think the other interesting thing is that, as much as we talk about it on here, and other people talk about it on the EV blog forum and stuff like that, clients don't care. You know, most of the time,
Clients
if they're
don't
hiring
care.
you, they
No,
can't do
they
it
don't
themselves. If they could, they would have just done it.
Exactly.
So,
No, so they're generally not going to say you must use a pick
exactly,
because,
right.
etc.
Right. They want the job done and
just,
fast and
exactly.
reliably. So,
yep.
and
that often happens at companies. People wonder, how do companies, companies will typically standardize on their own processor solution in-house, be it PIC, Atmel, Motorola, whatever it is, right? And people will go, well, how did they decide on that? It's not like they went and exhaustively evaluated them all. No, it's because probably the first person they hired to do it knew that platform and took it with them. And that's what they started using. And then the next employees come along, and that original employee is long since gone, but the history of that.
Right, exactly.
Has,
and then the technical weight of changing something, the debt, or not the debt, but like the
just
switching
too high.
cost is so high. And
it just isn't worth it. So, like occasionally you'll get, a new employee that comes in and goes, look, this is not going to work. We have to use this. We have to go through the pain. But trying to convince management of that is really difficult.
I mean, like usually
to make that change.
When I've ever been part of those conversations, it's like part X is obsolete. We cannot buy it anymore. We have 1 year of parts left. We must switch in that time. And they're like, okay, fine, we will finally.
Fine. And then that'll get them. But if you're arguing based on technical merit, it's
a non-issue, right?
It's falling on deaf ears,
It's not worth arguing. And I think that's why when you have a salesperson who sniffs an actual experience, an actual like opportunity, like say there is an obsolescence and there's a possibility to switch, like that's gonna last another 10 years.
They're gonna
if the company's sticking around, you one win like that could equal lots of dollars. So so
and there's industry segments. If you go in the automotive industry,
free scale.
Right, you're going to find your free scale parts. Right, X Motorola.
Because you go to you go to a microchip and you're like, I want four LIN controllers and 2 CAN controllers, and they're like, huh? We've had one part that has one CAN controller. Good luck.
Right, that's it. And like the software certification is huge for those sorts of things, and they're just and the platform certifications and everything else, and that's just what that industry uses, and it's just the way it is.
Yeah. Well, I will say, great question. I'm glad they asked that on the subreddit. I hope other people do that as well in the future. So
unfortunately, it's not something that really had a black and white answer there. It was, it's more complicated than that. But unfortunately, it's the same with all education. It's like there's so many things you need to learn. It's like, are they suddenly going to bring back we need to bring back fundamental skills in learning how to implement individual microcontrollers? There's almost no point, because it's like the one you choose is not the one you might use in industry anyway. So you could say, okay, we'll use ARM because everyone's using ARM. Okay, well,
I think it's important to use something specific. If you keep it completely abstract, I think that doesn't help at all, because then people are like, well, this doesn't seem to apply at all. But I think that if you're at least going in and learning a thing and trying to then go through the actual motions of designing a thing, or so if you're designing with a PIC and you like PICs, but what you're really learning is like how to talk to registers and how to write C code that's legible, and how to do all those other things, how to interface with hardware, how to troubleshoot hardware when you've written the code for it. Like those are all the skills that you're really learning. And it's on a PIC, and that's important. That if you just said, well, we're going to use a generic microcontroller simulator, it's like, no, that's not actually useful. No. The useful thing is digging in and learning all these things and figuring out what you do or don't like about it, and then taking that to the next thing. And maybe you are going to use a Cortex M0 next time. Maybe you'll be using a dual core like Espressif style ESP32. It's just about, but having that starting place is really important too. So yeah.
And it depends what the course's aim is. If the aim is to learn about DSP, or or some other like control theory or something else, right? You're not going to go, okay, we're going to start with this blank microcontroller, and we're first going to write all the initialization routines, and then we're going to write all the register initialization, then we're going to do the timing and the I/O set, it's boring as bad shit.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And then, right? And people are going to go, this is just, too hard. I don't like this. I hate microcontrollers. Whereas if you start with a platform like an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi that just works, right, then you can do more higher level stuff quickly, and you get more satisfaction, and the students feel like they've accomplished more easily, and they go, hey, engineering's not that hard, and
Yeah.
And there's, of course, the proponents out there that don't like that. Engineering should be hard, damn it.
Right.
It was hard when I was a boy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Right. It's pros and cons.
We just want more listeners here, so we can make it easy. Yeah.
Right.
We have a very specific agenda here.
Right.
Yeah. So one thing I will say...
We don't care what you learn as long as you listen.
Yeah, right. If people are interested in picks in general, like there is the microchip masters, I think is the thing it's called, right?
The program?
No, the masters is the conference that they do.
Oh, the conference. Yeah. Okay, no, I'm confusing that with the microchip certified professional thing.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, the masters,
which is a certification.
So that already happened for 2018, but
right.
I think that'll be happening again. Oh, and there's ones in different parts of so there's other ones coming up in Buenos Aires, Brazil, Seoul. So looks like they're all over the world, China, Taiwan. So they are all over the world, but basically they're just like training conferences and stuff like that. But if you're really into that, then go and find that community.
I've been to a couple of those types of things. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yep. And I think that's good though, right? So some people are really into the low level architecture and those specific parts, and go and do it.
It's just that they're teaching that less and less. They're like, what stuff did you learn? What stuff were you taught? What platforms? What micro?
I mean, I did some 8051 stuff, and you're talking about in school specifically.
Yeah.
So 8051 stuff, and then also, Altera's what was it? Quartus 2 on the Max 2000, I think. For like programmable logic and stuff like that.
Right.
And that was about it. So I did more analog hardware in school. So
okay, yeah. I was like Z80 and 6502.
Yep.
It was like even though they were kind of obsolete at the time, but that's what they were still teaching.
Right.
It was like microcontrollers were around, but they still weren't teaching us microcontrollers. They're teaching us microprocessors.
Right.
Here's the memory bus. Yeah. Here's the data
and
bus.
And usually that stuff does
IO
lag,
bus,
actually. It does usually lag.
It lags. Yeah, it lags a lot.
So because the training programs are and because schools buy stuff and then they try and get the most out of it they can. So
of course. It's really difficult to write good educational course material. It takes a lot of effort to write it. So if they want to say, okay, we're going to suddenly teach, pick microcontrollers, it's like, holy crap, somebody's got to write all that material.
Yeah, exactly. And build
and debug it and refine it
right.
and do everything. Yeah, labs and practical demo projects and like. Oh,
that's why it's not cheap either.
Exactly. So.
Well, I think the real answer though is that's the the stuff they teach in class is definitely different than the stuff you're going to learn on your own, right? So if you're building this stuff on your own, great. I mean, that's awesome. That's where you're going to really learn this stuff anyways. I think it's really going to really learn the ins and outs of the architecture you like or don't like, right? So do stuff outside class. That's important. Do more stuff and build out a portfolio and all that fun things. So
absolutely.
Yeah. One thing
all right, what's the last stuff?
Well, I was going to say one thing about the microchip masters is I know they have their microchips down in Phoenix, and I was going to say there is a new Phoenix 3H meetup, so we'll link to that. So that's the hardware happy hour down in Phoenix,
excellent,
Arizona. Are you going to have another meetup?
I was going to go to a meetup last night, but I had personal stuff and I couldn't go. No, it wasn't an EV blog meetup, but there was another impromptu metup where like everyone was going.
The Sydney nerds, Sid nerds.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't an official get together, but everyone was messaging me and saying, "Oh, Dave, are you going? Have you heard about it? Are you going? Everyone's going to be there." And I couldn't go. So, yeah. Bummer. Yeah. But yeah, I'll have another meetup because that was fun. But I think like more than every 6 months is too often.
Got it. Okay. More time to work on projects to show off, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, because you're going to get the same people turning up every time, almost. Probably 80%.
Yeah. Yep.
kind of thing. So yeah, if you had it monthly, I think it'd be pretty boring.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's okay. I think it depends though. Like it depends like how social it is versus how much it's project based. Usually, I'm on like a 2-month
that's it.
cadence.
There is one in Sydney. There's like the Raspberry Pi meetup, and they have it every month, I believe, and they get like 40, 50 people
Got it.
But they're all like, it's kind of like, they're all working on stuff. It's more of a hackerspace kind of thing.
Got it. Okay.
Than an actual meetup. Whereas mine's like just a meetup, just meet people kind of
have
thing.
a drink, show off, get stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yep. I guess the last thing is, what was I gonna say? There was a meetup. I got to hang out with Joe Grand and Joe Fitz, past guests of the Amp Hour last night.
Excellent. Yes.
That was great, and they were both quoted in that tiny chip to infiltrate U.S. companies thing.
Oh God. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. What were there? Did you speak to them about it? What were their opinions?
I don't think I'm allowed to repeat anything they told me, but it's
okay. All right.
It does not, as it appeared. I don't know. Did we talk about that on here at all?
No, but it sounds like I'm now of the opinion that show me the pics. No pun intended. Show me the pics, or it didn't happen.
Yeah, right. Of like that. Yeah, it's.
Show me the proof, right? I'm now asking for proof.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is blowing out.
It sounded like really
somehow.
big news when it first came out, and
exactly. And I think it's more beat up than anything else.
Yeah.
So
I think it's very
proof
let's see on
along.
Reddit. There's 117 postings of the same article. So.
Yeah. Well, see, the problem is that once engineers like us, right, hear this story, our mind goes into, here's 5 different ways they can do this. So we analyze it from, rather than go,
wait, really?
Look,
let's
back.
actually take a look at the case
first?
here.
Like, is it real first?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like just the debunking stuff. They see the idea and their mind goes, how can we make this work, rather than step back and go,
that's a great way to
does it actually, is it practical?
Yeah.
Should you even bother?
Right. Right. So,
so
it sounds like I would say if people are interested in this kind of stuff, it sounds like there will be a lot more focus on it. I think they are on a panel about it. I'll have to edit this out if it's not actually true. I'll check before I post. But they're on a panel talking about chip implants, which is kind of what this is about, at B-Sides Portland, which is coming up in a couple weeks or soon, maybe this coming week.
What's B-side?
It's like
sounds like some venture capital.
It does.
thing.
No, it's like B-Sides is like that's from the old LP days when you would have like.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like the secondary conference. So there's usually like B-Side Las Vegas happens in between Black Hat and DEF CON.
What does the conference focus on?
Security. It's security focused.
Right. Hardware security.
Just generally infosec, and then there is hardware stuff.
Infosec.
So
Right.
B-Sides Portland is coming up very soon.
Got it.
B-Sides PDX is happening October 26th and 27th, so it's probably already happened actually by the time this comes out. Sorry. Yeah, it has.
Right.
My bad. We'll link to the video when we can. How about that?
Oh, dear.
All right, Dave. We'll talk soon.
Catch you next time.